Hello everybody, welcome to Free Coder. Here you can learn all about programming.
All right, let's jump right in. So if you're a developer and you've been using an AI coding assistant, you already know these things are powerful. But, there's a world of difference between just using a tool and really mastering it. Today, we're going to break down 5 killer best practices straight from Google's own engineers that'll help you close that gap. We're talking about setting the right foundation, managing your workflow, and even giving your AI a long-term memory. Let's do it. I love this analogy from the Google Cloud blog because it just nails it. Owning a kitchen knife doesn't make you a chef, right? Same idea here. Just because you have access to Gemini or Copilot doesn't automatically mean you're getting pro-level results. To get that high-quality code consistently, you gotta have the right techniques. And that leads us straight into this idea of the proficiency paradox. It's basically that gap, that disconnect between having these amazing AI models at your fingertips and actually knowing how to use them to their full potential. It's the difference between an assistant that's kind of helpful sometimes and a real partner that completely changes how you build software. So how do we solve this paradox? Well, a team of Google engineers actually dug deep into this. They used these tools on their own complex projects and figured out what really works. This whole explainer is built on what they found, a set of core best practices that will take you from being just a casual user to a true expert. Okay, first things first. We have to start at the beginning, and I mean the real beginning. Getting great results from an AI doesn't start when you ask it to write that first line of new code. Nope, it starts with the prep work, the foundational stuff you do before you even get there. So this foundational phase, it gives us our first 2 best practices. Number 1, picking the right kind of AI tool for the job you're doing. And number 2, taking a little time up front to train that tool on your existing code. This is how you set it up for a big win. And that's practice number 1. Choose the right tool. It's really about matching the tool to how complex your task is. I mean, you wouldn't use a sledgehammer to hang a picture frame, would you? So for something simple and self-contained, like writing a single function, an inline tool is perfect. But for something huge, like a massive app migration, you need a much more powerful, agentic framework that can actually plan and execute a bunch of steps. Now for practice number 2, training the tool. The big idea here is to shift left, which just means using the AI before you start writing new code. Have it work on documenting your project first. This is such a brilliant move because you get 2 things at once. First, you get awesome documentation, and second, the AI gets this deep contextual understanding of your entire code base. So what does this training actually look like? Well, you can have the AI generate README files for different directories, or ask it to write unit tests for functions that already exist. As it does this, it starts learning all the unique patterns, the dependencies, and even the little quirks in your code. This is the groundwork that leads to way better, more relevant suggestions later on. Okay, so once you've laid all that groundwork, the game totally changes. It's not just about prepping the AI anymore. It's about actively working with it. This next section is all about mastering that human-AI workflow. And this brings us to practice number 3, which is a really big mindset shift. You're not just a passive user typing in commands. You're a manager. Your job is to guide the AI, to break down big problems, and to give it a clear step-by-step plan. This is how you get predictable, top-notch results on really complex stuff. So how do you manage it? Well, you build a detailed execution plan with the AI. This 5-step process is a great way to do it. First, you go back and forth on the requirements to make sure you're both on the same page. Then you have the AI analyze the code to map everything out. Step 3, create the tests to prove the new code actually works. After that, the AI details its whole plan of attack, listing every single file it's going to touch. And finally, step 5, it has to ask for your approval before it does anything. And that last step? That's everything. Making the AI ask for your approval is what keeps you in the driver's seat. It makes sure the AI is following your vision and that the project doesn't just go completely off the rails. Think of it as the ultimate quality check, and you're the one holding the key. So here's the crucial part, and our 4th best practice. It's all about how you communicate this plan. Honestly, the best way to think about it is this. Treat every prompt like you're onboarding a brand new junior developer on their first day, right? You wouldn't just say, migrate the app. No way. You'd give them context. You'd point them to the right files. You'd explain all the weird dependencies, and you'd be super specific about what done looks like. you got to do the exact same thing for your AI. And now for our fifth and final best practice. And believe me, this one is an absolute game changer for any long-term project. The biggest problem with most AI assistants is that they forget everything when you close the window. Well, this practice solves that. We're going to build a cheat sheet to give our AI a persistent memory. This cheat sheet is really just a simple context file. You can call it Gemini.md, context.md, whatever you want. It's a living document where you store all the essential info about the project, all the stuff the AI needs to remember. This is how you stop starting from scratch every single morning. So what goes in this file? Basically, anything that gives it critical context. High-level goals, specific versions of dependencies you're using, little architecture notes, and this is the most important one, key learnings and decisions from your last session. You can even put in notes about your personal coding style so the output starts to look more like your own. And this isn't just a theory. This is what those Google engineers actually did every single day. At the end of a coding session, they'd summarize their key learnings and what's next right into that file. Then, the next morning, their very first prompt was just telling the AI to read that file. It let them hit the ground running, with the AI completely up to speed, picking up exactly where they left off. So, you see, when you put all 5 of these practices together, something really fundamental changes. You stop being just a user of a tool, and you start becoming a true partner with your AI. You're guiding it, teaching it, and managing it to produce amazing results. And that's how you solve that proficiency paradox. If you only take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. From practice 1, choosing the right tool, all the way to practice 5, creating that daily cheat sheet, it all boils down to one simple thing: giving your AI the right context. Context is the absolute currency of collaborating with AI. And that leaves us with one last thought to chew on. If your AI coding assistant really is your new teammate, then the most important question you can ask yourself is this: how are you going to onboard them?